A very warm welcome to you and a happy new year. I do hope you're enjoying the year so far. Welcome to ALMOND Finance and Wealth Reports. I am Jennifer Obiji. On the program this week, we kickstart with our two-part highlights of some of the major events of 2016, from the 33rd African Insurance Organization Conference in Marrakech to the National Insurance Conference in Abuja, and then to the colorful investiture of Mr. Eddie Efekoha as the 22nd Chairman of Council of the NIA. It was indeed a year packed full of so many interesting events, and if you missed out on any of these events, here is another chance to catch up, so come and enjoy the ride with us.
The Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria, CIIN, recently put together its 2016 annual Miss Insurance Dance at the Grandeur Event Center, Ikeja. Welcoming guests to the event, the President and Chairman of Council of the Institute, Lady Isioma Chukwuma, said that they hope to improve on the gifts to be presented to winners in future editions of the pageant.
This year we are going to give a particular brand of car, and in the coming year we are hoping that we will improve on the brand of car to be presented. Eventually we are going to get to that stage where we'll present the Miss Insurance with a Jeep, if God will allow us.
The 10 contestants were first tested on teamwork. The contestants later appeared in their corporate, traditional, and dinner wears. The high point for the contestants, as always, was the question and answer session, where their knowledge on current affairs and technical questions of the business of insurance was put to test.
What is the main export of Nigeria?
Thank you very much. The main export of Nigeria is cocoa.
Sorry, you missed it. Where?
At the end of the night, Miss Peace of Linkage Assurance PLC emerged as the winner. She went home with the star prize of a brand new Suzuki Alto. Philip Asiodu Lecture Series was recently inaugurated to firstly honor Chief Philip Asiodu, a thoroughbred diplomat, bureaucrat, and former Minister of Petroleum, and secondly, to provide a robust platform for generating intellectual discussions on how to move the country forward. The maiden edition with the theme, The Proper Role of Oil in the Context of Accelerating Growth and Development in Nigeria, held recently at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, Kofo Abayomi, Victoria Island. The guest speaker was Ms. Arunma Ote, OON, Vice President and Treasurer of the World Bank. As expected, the event was a roll call of diplomats, bureaucrats, and the business community. Delivering the theme paper of the lecture, the guest speaker, Ms. Ote, said that Nigeria must establish a strategic vision for the economy they want to see in the future.
We must establish a strategic vision of what we want the economy to be in the future and continuously reevaluate that vision in the face of a rapidly evolving world. This vision must not only combine the objective of diversifying Nigeria's economy, but it must also focus on building a competitive knowledge economy that is based on the greatest asset that Nigeria has, which is its people.
Other speakers were Dr. Umar Bindi, Professor Aki Iwayemi, and Mr. Austin Avuru, Managing Director, Seplat Petroleum Development Company. In his submission, Mr. Avuru said that we must focus on domestic energy security to galvanize growth in other industries. Given the current economic situation in the country and the timeliness of the theme of the lecture, participants had questions.
Crude oil is not the answer for Nigeria's growth, because very soon crude oil will not have a price that will be above Avuru production costs. In that regard, we'll be competing with other crude oil, as the guest speaker said, coming from the Arctic, coming from American shale and fractured sources, so much so that our own crude oil price will not be competitive enough.
At the end of the lecture, the consensus was that Nigeria needs to apply a strategic mindset to diversify the economy so that it can capitalize on its comparative advantages and launch new industries of the future. The Center for Financial Journalism, CFJ, is a company limited by guarantee. Its target is to train and retrain a sizable number of Nigerian journalists in different aspects of financial journalism every year, with a view to sharpening their knowledge and understanding of the dynamics of the Nigerian economy. The center recently put together its inaugural lecture with the theme Steering Nigeria Out of Economic Turbulence, Policy Choices for Buhari's Administration at the Civic Center, Victoria Island, Lagos. Chairman of the event was Professor Pat Utomi, while the guest speaker was Professor Abman Hogan Ebo, Director General, West African Institute for Financial and Economic Management. Welcoming guests to the lecture, the Chairman, Board of Directors, Center for Financial Journalism, Mr. Ernest Ebi, MFR, said that the skill gap in financial journalism has been long identified by the founder of the center, Mr. Ray Echebiri.
The core mandate of the center is to provide specialized training and conducting cutting-edge research on financial journalism with a view to raising the standard of the practice of financial journalism in Nigeria. The center also aims at providing mentoring for new entrants into the field of financial journalism, as well as raising a significant number of highly skilled financial journalists. The skill gap in financial journalism in Nigeria was long identified by the founder of the center, Mr. Ray Echebiri, who is a leading member of the profession. Ray is very passionate and committed to raising the quality and standard of financial journalism in Nigeria.
The current state of the economy has taken the front burner in most public fora. While some have argued that the Nigerian economy has been growing at an average of 7%, the growth performance has not resulted in economic development, as other macroeconomic, sectoral and social indicators have moved in the wrong direction. Delivering the theme paper of the lecture, Steering Nigeria Out of Economic Turbulence, the guest speaker, Professor Ebo, said that policymakers must work towards inclusive development.
Sustained growth, even if it is inclusive, which I don't buy, sustained growth does not make sense, is only a necessary condition for development. Therefore, it is best for our leadership, policymakers and technocrats to search and work
towards inclusive development within the context of a developmental state economic blueprint. Anything else will be a return status quo, implying the continuation of the development of underdevelopment, which means increased poverty, backwardness, and misery.
Discussants at the lecture were Mr. Tilewa Adebajo, CEO, CFG Advisory, and Mr. Femi Awoyemi, CEO, ProShare Nigeria Limited. In his submission, Mr. Awoyemi stated that 60% of foreign exchange utilization in the last 4 years went to 2 sectors of the economy only.
If you go through the FX utilization by the central bank, years 2013, 2014 up to 2015, you will look at it and the total numbers of those people in those items, they don't make up to 7%. So what then are you trying to deal with? The greatest beneficiary of FX in this country is the financial institutions, which accounts for 48 to 49% average in the last 5 years. For things like even settling mortgages, it is an elitist problem. The second highest thing is your oil and gas, which is about 20. So 60% of the total FX utilization goes to 2 sectors.
Other people who gave goodwill messages at the lecture were Mrs. Toro Oladabo, Director, Public Affairs, Ministry of Information and Strategy, Lagos State, and Ifeyinwa Omowole, National President, Nigeria Association of Women Journalists, NAWOJ. The thought-provoking paper presentation from Professor Ebo generated questions from participants. At the end of the lecture, the consensus was that the Buhari-led administration inherited a lot of the current economic challenges due to poor planning of previous governments. It is, however, expected that the president and his team would put the economy on the path of sustained growth and inclusive development. Leap Africa is a non-profit organization committed to developing dynamic, innovative, and principled African leaders. In 2005, they established the CEO's Forum to serve as a platform for interaction, knowledge sharing, and partnerships between small and medium enterprises and leading private and public sector organizations who offer cutting-edge solutions, support and services that aid growth, development and sustainability of businesses in Nigeria. The 11th edition, with the theme Attracting Financing for Your Business, Strategies and Opportunities, was recently held at the Landmark Event Center, Victoria Island, Lagos. Opening the panel session, Mr. Bismarck Riwane, speaking on business financing trends in Nigeria, said that entrepreneurs must understand that the current state of the economy will make people take substitute decisions on products and services.
The other thing that you are going to have to understand is that when each of these items, 1, the exchange rate change, 2, the increase in the price of petroleum products, and 3, the increase in minimum wage, means that the incomes of people, disposable incomes, are going down. And whenever they go down, people make substitution decisions.
Over the years, Leap Africa has actively contributed to the body of knowledge on how to build sustainable organizations in our local business environment. Also speaking on overview of financing options, Yewande Sadiku, Executive Director and Head of Corporate and Investments, Stanbic IBTC Bank PLC told entrepreneurs that at startup, their businesses don't need loans from a bank.
But the first thing that your business needs when it starts is not a loan from a bank, because if the business does not pan out the way you expect, the bank will expect their loan repaid in full. The capital group that understands that things can take some time are equity providers. And at the beginning of a business's life, the appropriate place to start with getting equity is always from family and friends. So sadly, the wealthier your circle of friends is, the better you can probably raise capital. The wealthier your family is, the better access you have and the better you can raise capital. But you will start with family and friends. The people who know you, who know your character, and who can take a risk on you. And then as the business demonstrates proof, you will move to angel investors, who are generally people who don't know you. They hear your story, they like what you're saying, and they're prepared to take a risk on you. They understand that they may lose 100% of their money.
Other speakers were Mr. Segun Ogusonya, Managing Director, Airtel Nigeria, and Alessandra Lustrati, Head, Access to Finance, DFID. The high point of the Leap Africa CEOs Forum was the open forum where leading entrepreneurs shared their own stories on how they sourced for finance for their business. Moderator of the session was Ms. Ngozi Edozian, Head and CEO, Actis West Africa. Sharing his experience, Mr. Tayo Oviosu, founder and CEO, Pagatech Limited, implored entrepreneurs to always share with people why they are doing the business. Others were Mrs. Buki George, founder and CEO, Health Plus Limited, and Raphael Afado, co-founder and CEO, Supermats NG. Through the annual CEOs Forum, Leap Africa focuses on a theme relevant to building a sustainable enterprise. They also offer business leadership training to entrepreneurs and have published resources on themes relevant to business sustainability, including business ethics, corporate governance, succession planning, and risk management.
The theme of the African Insurance Organization Conference and General Assembly AIO is carefully chosen each year to reflect the direction of the insurance practitioners on the continent. The 43rd edition, with the theme African Insurance Amidst Current and Emerging Challenges, held recently in Marrakesh, Morocco, provided yet another platform for insurers on the continent to brainstorm on how to boost the insurance industry in Africa, not just for economic growth, but most especially to better the lives of the citizens of the continent. In attendance were over 800 delegates from more than 60 countries. Welcoming delegates to the 43rd Conference and General Assembly, the immediate past president of the AIO, Mrs. Lama Ben Mahmoud, stated that in order to ensure Africa's future, insurers must devise strategies aimed at facing the continent's numerous challenges. No doubt today, the African continent is bedeviled with numerous challenges ranging from cybercriminality, political instability, insecurity with new wave of terrorist attacks, climate change, food security challenges, and a host of others. With the opening formalities over, delegates settled down for serious deliberations on the theme and sub-theme papers of the conference. The first paper session of the conference focused on regulatory trends in African insurance and reinsurance. The chairman of session was Mr. Nache Isofa, Secretary General of CIIN, Gabon. Speaker was Mr. Othman El Alami, representative of the Autorité de Contrôle ACAPS, Morocco. The second session of the conference paper focused on global terrorism and other political risks, impact on the African insurance and reinsurance industry. Chairman of session was Mr. Ali Harag, President Wafa Assurance, Morocco. Speakers were Mr. George Oteno, Chief Executive Officer, African Trade Insurance Agency, Kenya, and Mr. Alan Joe, Head of International Markets, Munich Re. In his presentation, Mr. Oteno said that insurers on the continent must find a way to make insurance as an intangible product more exciting for the consumers of insurance products and services on the continent.
Consumer education, trust and awareness. I think that that's key ultimately. We can have the most beautiful product, but we need to make sure that the consumer understands ultimately the value proposition, experience the product, and get excited ultimately about those products. Get excited about this product. We need to make sure that we find an intangible product and we make it tangible, because that's how we're going to create the whole traction that is needed to sustain and to enable this industry to fulfill its whole potential.
Mr. Joe, in his presentation, employed African insurers on the need to form a pool to enable them retain a bigger share of written premium within the continent when it comes to big ticket risks such as political risk and terrorism.
There is not enough capacity for this business in Africa. As Joe had said earlier, most of it goes to the London market or international markets. Out of, like I said, the project, let's say a limit of 1.5 billion project limit insured, you'd find that what is retained in Africa would be less than 1% of that. Of course, for good reason, because most of these risks, you're talking about $250 million risk, with any investor who is going to put that kind of money would be keen to know who are the underlying insurers. They would look at the rating, they want to know who be able to cover them, and they can go to sleep.
One of the high points of the AIO this year was the presentation of the Africa Insurance Barometer 2016 Market Survey. Prepared by Dr. Sanj Arms and Company, the project was commissioned by the AIO Secretariat in Douala, Cameroon. The report, which is the first of its kind, draws on in-depth interviews with 28 senior executives of regional and international insurance companies and intermediaries operating in Africa. The third session of the conference focused on the use of rating and the impact of sovereign rating on the insurance industry in 2016. Chairman of session was Mr. Sandale Sasheba Dalami, CEO, Financial Services Regulatory Authority, Swaziland. Speaker was Mr. Neil Gosrani, Director, Group Financial Services, Standards and Poor's. Panelists were Mr. Christian Herzog, Head Rating Agency and Group Supervision, Swiss Re Zurich, and Mr. Oye Hassan Odukale, Chief Executive Officer, Leadway Assurance Limited, Nigeria, who was represented by Barrister Adetola Adegbayi, Executive Director, General Business, Leadway Assurance Limited. Delegates were also treated to delicious cuisines and an array of entertainment, including flame blowers and traditional Biba folk dances. No doubt, the 43rd African Insurance Organization Conference and General Assembly was a huge success. The stage is now set for the 44th edition, which will be hosted in Uganda in 2017.